Back at the workshop on a Monday morning, I'm here with a Tesla that is here for a KENZO coating appointment. The Tesla Model 3 is a mid-size sedan. I don't think the Tesla brand requires any further introductions. But for this specific model, the Model 3 was the world's top-selling plug-in electric car for 3 years, from 2018 to 2020, before the Model Y came out. Overseas viewers who aren't from Singapore, you can feel free to Google our car prices for an early Halloween surprise. But this is also my first time detailing a Tesla, and I did take my time inspecting the car's condition while also admiring its characteristics. I've heard criticisms about the single screen interface at the front of the car, but I belong to the spectrum where I'm a fan of this layout. It feels simple and sleek without much distractions on your dashboard. It's definitely a type of layout that will have its fair share of fans. Even the door panels complements the futuristic look that the car is going for. Most importantly, I feel the boot space is so spacious that I feel that I can actually lie down in it. Granted, I am a little shorter than your average Singaporean, but the Model 3 definitely doesn't disappoint anyone who might be concerned about boot space. Speaking of which, this Model 3 is the 2021 variant, which means that the door handles, side mirror trim, and the windows trims, which were previously chrome finishes, are now given a black finish instead. These are all part of the aesthetic changes that the Model 3 underwent back in 2020, for better or for worse. Stay tuned to find out why. Initially, the car confuses me. When I was checking the rims, I realized there wasn't much brake dust, which is quite puzzling because it suggests that the car hasn't been used much or is relatively new. I haven't met the car owner yet at that point, so I wasn't sure about the story of this Tesla. But upon seeing this situation, I decided to use the chemical guy's Diablo wheel cleaner instead of the usual iron remover for the rims wash. This is because I found that the rims have grease or some oily substance on it. I wasn't really sure what it was, but in this situation, a degreaser will definitely be more suitable than an iron remover. Now, both the degreaser and iron remover are responsible for tackling different types of contaminants on your rims. This brings me back to what I previously talked about on another video. Check it out if you haven't already. That different situations in detailing calls for different solutions. And this is just one of the many cases where a Diablo wheel cleaner would definitely be more beneficial for this appointment as compared to an iron removal. Now, I'm not so sure about the history of this car. The rims look like it's very new, but if you look at this is proof that the car is weathered, because this is the dirt that's accumulated behind the car plate over the months and years, and this is dirt that usually can't be removed through a normal wash because you don't usually remove the car plates during a wash. But we do that for our coating appointments because we have the time, the car is with us, and we really want to just give the car the best treatment possible when you leave the car with us. So sometimes cars come to us, they do servicing works, maintenance works for the engine, for the rims, for the braking system, the suspension system and stuff. So this is what your car gets to have when you spend the day with us. So I hope you can look forward to seeing the end result after we are done with the polishing, and of course after we're done with the coating as well. After washing the vehicle, I got to clay the vehicle. Now what I'm doing now, I'm kneading the clay bar. So some people have commented or asked like, why do I use a clay meat, or there's even a clay disc nowadays. I don't really believe in using those. I don't get the intended effect I want when I use those. So I'm always a clay bar person. I'm more of a clay bar person because I feel that it fits well into the palm. You get to feel the contaminants as you work the clay on the car itself. So it's something I've always been used to, so I don't use a clay meat or clay disc. Now you may notice that I have my gloves off. That's also because that when I'm playing, I have to feel the paint just to see whether the clay bar is well. So in cases where the paint isn't that contaminated, I don't need such aggressive clay bar. I have the luxury of choosing different grades of clay bar, like the Car Pro one that I use. So the Car Pro one comes in a set of 3 with varying aggressiveness. So you have the fine clay, you have the medium clay, and the very harsh clay. So right now, even though the car is relatively clean, there still needs clay because the surface is still very rough. There's still some contaminants that stuck with the paint itself, and I'm not very comfortable with just not playing it. Now for today's video, you're going to see me do something different that I seldom have the chance to do for other appointments. I'm going to use the Chemical Guys water spot remover to work on the trim cylinder. Because if you can see, there are some water spots that are on it. I'm not sure if I'm able to remove it, but at the very least, I'm going to try to reduce it and make it less of an eyesore. Because I think for trims, it's a very common problem. And this is one of the products that we trust to remove water spots, with the other being charcoal spotless. But I feel that spotless works better on paint, and for windows and also trims like this, I prefer to use the gel-like product. Now you might be curious to be finding out why the car is still wet as I'm working on it. The truth is I haven't dried the car yet, because when I'm using this product to clean and work on all these areas, there's going to be splatter and it might make the car dirty. So I rather spend just a quick 5 to 10 minutes to work on this, and then I'll just rinse the car off together with all these products that might have just splattered on the paint. I also don't want to spend too long working on it because I don't want the water to dry out and create water spots on the paint itself. The Chemical Guys water spot remover is easy and pretty straightforward to use. A pea-sized dot squeeze onto your applicator of choice. In this case, I used a microfiber cloth due to how thin the trim is. But for larger panels, you can also use an applicator pad. Just work on the area using moderate pressure and repeated agitations. The product itself will work its own magic by tackling the minerals on the trims, because water spots are effectively minerals that are left behind when the water evaporates. This water spot remover also carries a mild acidic nature just to tackle these alkaline minerals. This also works on metal pieces like your emblems and your badges. After using it, just buff off the excess product if there's any, to make sure that you don't leave any products on the panel itself. Unfortunately, the water spots ended up being sturdier than expected, many of which has been etched onto the trim itself, probably over a longer period of time, and I couldn't completely remove them. I could only reduce how obvious it looks. And after drying the car and driving it in, I also budgeted and spent another hour trying to inflict more damage onto these minerals, because this trim definitely needs more time to work on. But ultimately, water spots has always been one of the challenges that detailers face as well, and while we can reduce how bad it looks, we can't always completely remove them from the trims or paint or windows. In extreme cases, removal of water spots, especially on paint, might require wet sanding or even a respray. Frustrating as it might be, detailing cars isn't always going to go our way in achieving 100% restoration. Sometimes it might be better to pour our efforts into other areas of the vehicle, such as the interior, windows, or paint, especially given the limited time we have with the car during our appointments. Speaking of paint, After driving the car in, I started to check the paint condition. It is always good to have an inspection of the paint condition after the wash, a proper one, so that you can have a clearer picture of what you're dealing with. Now in this case, I'm dealing with a white paint, so immediately my alarm bells, my spidey sense, the warning signals are ringing because, long story short, the characteristics of white paint makes it challenging to spot the flaws, and you might just end up missing out on spotting certain flaws if you aren't careful enough. After much consideration, I decided to go with the Sonex Cut Max and a blue course pad. I could have went with a more aggressive approach, but I felt there wasn't a need to bring out the largest guns I have in my arsenal because the main problems that we were dealing with were swirls. There wasn't a huge coating to cut through, and Cut Max and the course pad managed to give me the results I want after some testing. Here you can see that the swirls are mostly removed, although it needs a bit more work. And that's where I wanted to talk about the challenge of detailing this car. Unexpectedly, the bonnet actually has a lot of contours that I wasn't used to. I only realized it when I started doing the paint correction, but the bonnet feels very different to the rest of the car that I did, giving this Tesla its own unique characteristics. For those unfamiliar with the paint correction process, this means that your circular pad is not evenly placed on a flat panel. Sometimes there might be curves or grooves that makes it hard for your pad to go in complete contact with the panel. This means that your panel would be affected by the rotation of the machine if you aren't careful enough while doing the paint correction process. These areas are more prone to marring or incomplete paint correction, hence there might be more scratches around these areas. Now this paint correction is taking me longer than usual. This usually happens when it's a white paint. So white paint is harder to see the flaws, which is why many detailers out there sometimes they have an easier time doing white paint because all you have to do is just to brighten up the white paint, especially if the car isn't taken care of properly. The paint is more dull. It's like it's grayish. It's out in the sun for very long. The whole white paint is very stained. So what they usually do is they brighten it up. The car becomes a lot whiter, and suddenly you feel that wow, the car has been polished. But actually underneath it, there's a lot of flaws that is not that visible to the naked eye under the poor lighting conditions, or it's not that visible to the inexperienced eye. But we know how to see it, so we know how to spot these flaws. So right now I'm looking at the boot of this Tesla. It's still a bit flawed. I'm trying to look at the angle when you see me tilting my head up and down or left and right, moving the angle just to see under the proper lighting conditions to see the flaws. So once again, I'm going to show you the before after. So this is the after. I already did this half of the boot, and here is the before. So if you can see from the camera, there is a lot of swirl marks. And and a bit of water stains or dirt stains that are on the paint itself. But when you see it from far, it doesn't look like there's any problem with the paint. So other than the color of the paint, the condition of the paint is something I feel that many car owners neglect to take note of when they go to a detailing studio or a detailing shop. Now, as we promised, one of the reasons why we take your car for a day or two is also because we promise to take care of your car. The sun is going to go down soon, it's going to be night, the workshop's going to be empty. I'm going to have the chance to close all the shutters, the doors, and switch off all the lights and inspect the car under a very dim, dark condition with only one light source. These kind of situations give me a very good and accurate picture of the paint condition itself. When you have one light source directly shown onto the car's paint, you know whether there's marring, there's flaws that can't be seen under these type of light conditions. So I'm going to show you a video on that later. Stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome back. You can't see me, this is my edition of Halloween Horror Night. Well, jokes aside, I'm gonna bring you to the paint. Okay, as you can see here, this is what I meant by how I check the paint when I'm alone in the workshop. With the orange light and a combination of the white light as well, you get to see a very clear picture of the paint itself. Now this paint condition isn't that bad. I'm seeing a bit of marring and swirls, especially in the middle part. And if you notice it, there's a ding in the middle, dent, very small, but it's very visible when you have only one light source concentrated on it. Now to bring you to the other parts of the car. Under this light condition, I also get to check things like the emblem. If there are scratches that should be working on, other than removing the water spots. And also checking the paint, just to see if there's anything I missed out. I do this quite a couple of times throughout the paint correction process. So before, in the middle, and after, just to see whether I miss out any spots. So right now I'm left with the two doors. Like you saw just now, the swirls are still in the center. This car may look very white, may look very new, but there's still quite a lot of imperfections on the paint. So for today's KENZO appointment, in addition to doing a paint correction for the paint itself, I'm also going to be polishing the glass as part of our glass polishing package. Now, why is there a need to polish the glass? Many times in Singapore, I feel that the focus has always been coating your glass, you want water beading, dry, and then the water just beads away. It's not wrong, but I feel that one thing that's always neglected is the oil film that is forming on the glass. Now, we have talked in detail what is an oil film. You can check out our video on that. But just to briefly go through, oil film is just a contaminant, a layer of oil that is filled with contaminants that ends up on your windscreen over time. It's something that's unavoidable. In fact, for me myself, for my van, I do it every quarterly. So I try to keep my glass as clean as possible through maintaining it by doing the polish on it. Now today we're going to do a polish for this glass just to remove the oil film before we put our glass coating onto it. Now there are a few things that you take note of if you're going to polish glass. I'll bring you through it as I'm doing it. So first off, I'm going to take a blue coarse pad. It's one of the more aggressive pads that we have, together with Sonex glass polish. Now I've talked about the Sonex glass polish in our previous videos about how it has a higher concentration of sulfuric oxide and why is it one of our favorite glass polish to use when doing this job. I want to be spraying a bit of water onto it just to wet the entire panel. Now some people use soap water, not wrong, you can, but the main idea is that you want to cool the panel a bit. You don't want it to be totally hot, because as you are working on the panel itself, you generate heat. You are working on glass, which is different from paint. With heat and pressure, you might compromise the integrity of the windscreen. So it's always good to be doing it with water. Now the main difference between glass and polishing and paint polishing is that you can, in a way, go a bit aggressive when you're doing glass polish, but you just have to be careful of the RPM you use. Pressure is not that much of a worry as compared to paint. You won't be causing marring on the glass. But at the same time, you don't want to be going on a too high of a RPM, because you might end up vibrating the glass too much. You might end up having more risk of causing damage to the integrity of the glass. So in a sense, you don't worry so much about the damage that your machine will do on the glass. You worry about the damage that your machine will do on the entire windscreen, the integrity of it. So now I'm going to just spread the product. And I'm going to go at a 4K RPM. I seldom go any higher than that. Now the phase I'm doing is a bit similar to just polishing rather than compounding, because it is very easy to get rid of the oil film with the Sonex glass polish and my fork pack. Okay, I just did one pass. I'm just going to spray a bit of water to show you the difference of before after what to expect. Now as you can see, this is the area that I just worked on with the machine, and this is the area that is untouched. Now it might look like this area is water beading, it has a water beading effect, the water are coming in this. But the truth is, this is actually water on the oil film. Water beading can also occur on an oil film as well, not just when there's coating applied. And this situation, it actually gets worse and worse over time if you don't do a glass polish, because why? As you're adding a coating more and more onto the windscreen itself, you're not removing the oil film, you're actually stacking the oil film with more and more coating. And this is a common problem in Singapore's context, because I feel that a lot of drivers are very obsessed with the idea of water beading effect, coating on the windows. Many of us might have gone to a petrol kiosk, get a glass coating off the shelves. It might be 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐀, it might be Rain-X, it might even be the products that we use, like the chemical guys 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. But without proper understanding of the whole windscreen, how it works, the coating, how it works, you will end up causing more harm than helping yourself when you're driving, which is a safety issue. Now the question is, how do you remove an oil film? You can remove an oil film through chemicals. There are products in the market where you can just pour it into your wiper fluid, you activate your wipers, and then yes, your windscreen might be a lot clearer. But we chose to go with a glass polish. We chose to go with polishing the glass and using the machine and the glass polish because it's more even that way. You can remove the oil film evenly. Whereas if you are using chemicals or products that relies on your wipers, the only areas that actually remove the oil film are the areas that your wipers can reach, and it's definitely not the entire windscreen itself. Now, speaking of the products we use and the equipment we use, as I was saying earlier, I'm holding on to a coarse pad. Now, a coarse pad is one of the this is one of the more aggressive pads that we have. And the reason I chose it is because when I work on it to remove the oil film, I want to get rid of the oil film fast. So I chose something that's more aggressive. The reason for that is because that carries a lower risk of me causing any damage to the windscreen itself. I want to work lesser on it so that there's a lesser chance of me or the pad causing unintended damage or harming the integrity in ways that the naked eye can't really see or notice. Lastly, I just also want to throw in a reminder to everyone is like, how do you actually know you need this? Now, chances are if you haven't done this before, you definitely probably need it for your vehicle. But one very telltale sign is that actually when you drive in the rain, if you feel that the more you use your wipers, the blurrer the whole windscreen gets. I think that will also be a good reason for you to consider having your windscreen polished, just so you can have a clearer vision when you drive. IGL Coatings KENZO is a signature product and is only available to authorized KENZO installers. To get the most out of this product when you apply it onto your car, you have to have proper paint correction or an extensive detailing done to your car's paint, so that before you actually apply a thick layer of coating onto it, you actually perfected your paint to the best of its capability before you seal it up with the coating. The last few parts of the appointment came down to the exterior grooming together with the interior work that had to be done. I started my morning by setting the fumigation canister in the car while I work on the windows. Of course, I was sure to take out the baby seat first. After opening the car doors and airing the car for a while, this allowed me to go into the car to do the remainder of the interior works, which include cleaning the interior panels, as well as vacuuming up all the loose dirt and grime and any unwanted gas that might have ran out during the fumigation process. Lastly, I ended the appointment with the Sonex aircon cleaner. This helps me to remove any lingering odor from the fumigation or any odor that might be in the car in the first place. And with that, we are finally done with the appointment.